Okay, so like we've got to talk about this whole Sean Diddy Combs
Yeah.
situation. I mean, we all know him, right? The guy's a music mogul, entrepreneur, like the definition of hip hop success,
Sure.
But now he's facing some seriously heavy allegations,
Mm.
sex trafficking, organized crime. This isn't just your typical like celebrity scandal. These are life-altering charges.
Yeah, and I think what's really striking here is the sheer number of accusations. It's not just like one or two isolated incidents, right? We're talking about over 100 people coming forward alleging this pattern of kind of predatory behavior going back decades.
100 people. That's not nothing.
Right. Statistically, that's significant. Like, it really makes you stop and take notice.
It kind of throws a wrench into everything we thought we knew about Diddy, right?
Uh,
Like all the lavish parties, the success. But these accusations paint a much darker picture. And, some of the details are, frankly, they're disturbing. One person claims Diddy assaulted him at a party back in 1998 when he was only 16.
Yeah, and that one is particularly troubling because it hints at a potential modus operandi here. The accuser claims that Diddy kind of framed the assault as an initiation, like a way into the music industry, which really plays on the whole, allure of fame and the power dynamics that come with that world, especially in music.
It's like you're young, you're ambitious, you want to break into the industry, you're kind of vulnerable in a lot of ways.
Exactly. In the music industry, it's all about youth and talent and connections. It can, unfortunately, create an environment where exploitation can happen. And when you've got someone like Diddy, who, let's be honest, pretty much seemed to hold the keys to success for a long time, it's not hard to see how someone younger and less experienced could be taken advantage of in that situation.
And it's not just like this one isolated incident either. There's definitely a theme emerging here, right? We're seeing multiple accusations from women claiming that Diddy used his fame, used those parties that he's known for, to lure them into these situations where they allege they were taken advantage of.
Yeah, you see a very similar story in a lot of these accusations. Diddy leveraging his status, the allure of these exclusive parties, to make people feel special, like they have a shot, and then allegedly, he used that to exploit them.
It's like we're pulling back the curtain on this like glamorous world that Diddy built, and we're finding this dark side, this pattern of alleged behavior. But to get specific, what exactly are people alleging went down at these parties?
Well, the accusations, they range from drugging and sexual assault all the way to like threats of violence if someone spoke out. So we're not talking about like just bad behavior here. These are serious, serious claims.
And this is where things get really tricky, right? Like, how do you even begin to prove these kinds of cases, especially when a lot of times it boils down to one person's word against another?
Yeah, that's the real challenge, especially with cases involving sexual assault. They're notoriously difficult to prosecute. Having that corroborating evidence is crucial. Witness testimonies, texts, emails, anything that can back up the accuser's stories and help establish a pattern.
So with this many accusations and over such a long period of time, you'd think there'd be something, right? Like some piece of evidence that supports these claims.
Yeah, you would think so. It'll be interesting to see what investigators find, if anything. But it's important to remember that this is still the beginning. The legal process is just getting started, and Diddy is innocent until proven guilty, right? We have to remember that.
Absolutely. Due process is key here. So what's Diddy's take on all of this? How was he responding to these allegations?
Well, Diddy has denied everything, completely. His lawyers are calling these accusations baseless and saying it's all just an attempt to extort money from him. They're basically saying this is a hit job, trying to take down a successful person.
Which, I mean, let's be real, that is a pretty common defense tactic in these situations. But like, just saying you didn't do something, that doesn't automatically make it true, right?
Exactly. A denial is just that, a statement. It's up to the legal system to figure out if these accusations were true and to ensure a fair trial where both sides can present their case.
Okay, so let's say these cases actually do go to trial. What could that look like? What kind of legal battles are we talking about here?
Well, in a trial, both sides, the prosecution and the defense, will present their evidence, they'll call witnesses, and they'll each try to convince the jury that their version of events is the truth.
And in a case like this, what kind of evidence would be, like, really damning for Diddy? Or, on the flip side, what could help clear his name?
Honestly, witness testimony is going to be huge for both sides. The prosecution will likely rely a lot on the accusers themselves. They'll have the chance to tell their stories, to give the details of the alleged abuse.
Man, I can't even imagine how difficult that would be. To have to come forward publicly with these incredibly personal and traumatic experiences.
Oh, absolutely. It takes so much courage to speak out against someone as powerful and influential as Diddy. The defense, though, they'll probably try to discredit the accusers, maybe point out inconsistencies in their stories. And they'll try to present Diddy as the victim here, a victim of false accusations. They might argue that it was all misunderstandings or consensual encounters that are being twisted.
So it basically comes down to who the jury believes more.
To an extent, yeah. But it's more than just believability. There's got to be enough solid evidence to meet that burden of proof. That's what the law requires.
And in a legal sense, what does that actually mean? Like, what does it take to meet that burden of proof?
Well, the prosecution, they need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the crimes happened as they're alleging. And that's a high bar to clear, especially in a case like this, dealing with events that happened in the past where physical evidence might be hard to come by.
And, it's got to be said, for Diddy, this whole thing, whether he's found guilty or not, it's already had a huge impact. I mean, we're talking potential damage to his reputation, to his brand, his entire legacy, really. There's a lot on the line.
Oh, absolutely. These accusations, they've definitely tarnished his image. And even if he's cleared of everything, public opinion can be a lot harsher, a lot less forgiving than a court of law sometimes. And this whole case, it really brings up some bigger issues, doesn't it? About power, about accountability, the responsibility we all have to address these kinds of systemic issues.
It really makes you wonder, like, what's it going to take for things to really change? In music, in entertainment, all these industries where those power imbalances are just, like, baked in.
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's going to take a real shift in mindset, I think. We have to move away from protecting powerful people and start prioritizing the safety and well-being of everyone. We need more transparency, better safeguards, and a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to abuse and exploitation. No excuses.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that success, no matter how big, how much money, how much fame, none of that excuses harmful behavior.
Exactly. This whole situation, it should be a wake-up call, not just for the music industry, but for everybody. It's a time to really think about this stuff, to have those uncomfortable conversations about the ways we might be playing a part in these power dynamics, even if we don't realize it. And most importantly, what we can actually do to change things, to create a world that's safer and more equitable for everyone.
So where do we go from here? What can our listeners take away from all of this?
I think it starts with believing survivors, making sure their voices are heard, support organizations that are fighting against sexual assault and holding abusers accountable. And, we have to be willing to have these conversations, even when they're tough, even when they make us uncomfortable.
It's about changing the culture, right? So that everyone feels safe enough to speak up, to hold each other accountable, no matter who they are.
Exactly. It's about building a world where everyone, no matter how rich, how famous, how powerful, is held to the same standard, where justice and accountability are just like the norm.
That's what we need. Well said. This has been quite a deep dive, folks, but an important one for sure. These accusations against Diddy, regardless of how the legal side plays out, they force us to look at some hard truths about the world we live in,
It's bigger than just one person, one industry. It's a conversation we all need to be a part of if we want to see real change.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for diving deep with us today, everyone. We'll be back next time with another episode of The Deep Dive. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking those tough questions.